one with the highest level of security. The doctors were already on standby, and Julian was wheeled into the operating room. I stood in the hallway, watching the red light above the door, and took out the phone developed by a friend. I tapped on Genius's profile picture and sent the command, "Initiate the reckoning protocol. Targets: Silas Astor, Mr. Coleman, and all forces behind them. I want everything they have, their businesses, their networks, their dirt. Leave nothing behind." "Roger that, Chief. I'll make sure they don't even have their underwear left." After sending the message, I finally felt a wave of exhaustion. Not physical, but mental. Playing the part of a harmless heir was more tiring than carrying out 10 S-rank missions. Soon, my parents and 3 sisters arrived, having heard the news. Seeing me unharmed, then looking at the light of the operating room, their faces were filled with a mixture of fear and worry. "Ethan, Julian, My mother's voice trembled. "They're just removing the bullet. It's a minor surgery. His life isn't in danger," I reassured her. My father, Marcus Astor, looked at me, his eyes as sharp as an eagle's. "Ethan, Mr. White has told me everything." He didn't finish the question, but everyone's gaze was fixed on me, waiting for my answer. I knew the time for revelations had come. I led them to a quiet lounge and poured them each a glass of water. "Dad, Mom, Serafina, Isabel, Vivian." I took a deep breath, deciding to hide nothing more. I didn't actually grow up in the slums. After I was taken, I was raised by an organization. That organization is called Spectre. I saw their bodies tense up instantly. "Spectre isn't an ordinary assassin organization," I continued to explain. "We accept secret commissions from the world's highest powers to eliminate targets that are beyond the reach of the law but pose a great threat, like international drug lords, terrorist leaders, and warmongers. We are the guardians of order who walk in the darkness. And I am Spectre's current leader." You could have heard a pin drop in the lounge. The shock on their faces was absolute. I laid everything bare. The special phone was a military-grade device from my organization. Genius was my chief intelligence officer, a real person. I could easily uncover the illegitimate son's background because Spectre's intelligence network spanned the globe, and my so-called teachers were world-class experts in combat, firearms, intelligence, finance, and various other fields. "So, you came back for the Astor family?" My father's voice was hoarse. "I came back because I wanted a home," I said, looking at them and speaking the truest words from my heart. "As for the Astor family's troubles, that's just a matter of sweeping some dust out of the house." After a long silence, my mother's eyes reddened first. She walked over, and this time, she didn't keep her distance. She hugged me tightly. "My son, you've suffered so much." My body stiffened for a moment, then relaxed as I gently patted her back. It turned out that no matter how powerful I was, in my mother's eyes, I would always be the child who needed to be cherished. My father and eldest sister, Serafina, exchanged a look. There was no fear in their eyes, but rather a sense of relief and excitement. "The Astor's shadow line isn't entirely a criminal enterprise," my father said in a low voice, revealing the family's biggest secret. "We act as a white glove for the government, handling matters they can't publicly address. Mr. White is in direct charge. Our philosophy and your Spectre's, they align perfectly." I was surprised, but it also made sense. No wonder Mr. White had that iron-willed, military-like demeanor. Just then, there was a knock on the door, and a nurse peeked in. "Mr. Astor, there's a Miss Sterling outside. She claims to be from Interpol and needs to see you on an urgent matter." Chloe? What was she doing here? Soon, Chloe walked in, dressed in a sharp suit, a stark contrast to her usual socialite persona. She flashed her badge, her sharp gaze sweeping over each of us before finally landing on me. "Ethan Astor, or should I call you Spectre?" she said, getting straight to the point. I raised an eyebrow. "Chloe Sterling, or should I call you Interpol's ace agent, Siren?" We looked at each other and smiled. Everything was understood without a word. Chloe's appearance completed the final piece of the puzzle. Her so-called wild child act was just her best cover. The reason she could so easily obtain evidence of Mr. Coleman's collusion with the Azure Dragons was that she had been investigating this transnational criminal organization all along. And when she claimed to have seen Julian kill someone, it was because the person killed was a major criminal on her wanted list. Julian had simply cleaned house before she could. Silas Astor and Mr. Coleman are not just traitors to the Astor family. They are also key players for the Azure Dragons in this region, Chloe said with a serious expression. "I need your help to take them and the forces behind them down completely." My father looked at me, his eyes questioning. I nodded. "That's exactly what I had in mind. an unprecedented alliance was formed. I represented the absolute power and global intelligence of the underworld. Chloe represented the legitimacy and international resources of the law, and the Astor family possessed an unrivaled commercial might and local influence. When Julian came out of surgery and learned everything, he looked at me with a complex expression and said, "You really know how to keep a secret." Then he smiled, the exhilarating smile of someone who has met their match. "But this makes things interesting. Leave the business side to me." Our counterattack began. Julian took command at the Astor Corporation, using the solid evidence provided by Chloe and the intelligence support for me to launch a devastating assault on all of Silas's and Mr. Coleman's businesses in the capital market. Their funding chains were precisely severed, their stocks were aggressively shorted, and their partners defected one by one. In just 1 week, the business empires they had spent decades building were on the verge of collapse. Meanwhile, I mobilized the power of Spectre to dismantle their hidden networks of dark money, money laundering operations, and secret strongholds around the world. Chloe, in her capacity as an Interpol agent, coordinated with police forces in various countries to launch a global manhunt for members of the Azure Dragons. Silas and Mr. Coleman were trapped. They tried to flee, only to find that I had blocked every escape route. They tried to fight back, only to discover that the power they were so proud of was fragile and insignificant before the combined might of the Astor family, Spectre, and Interpol. Finally, one morning, as they were still reeling from the loss of billions in assets overnight, Marcus arrived with Mr. White, I arrived with Spectre's elite, and Chloe arrived with Interpol. The three forces appeared before them simultaneously. Looking at their once arrogant faces, now ashen with despair, I didn't waste a single word. What awaited them was a dual judgment, from both the law and the darkness. 1 year later, the Aegean Sea, Santorini. A grand wedding was held in a blue-domed church on the edge of a cliff. The sun, the turquoise sea, the white buildings, it was as beautiful as a painting. I stood before the priest in a white suit, watching my bride, Chloe, walk slowly towards me. Today, she wasn't in a uniform or flashy streetwear, but in a stunning white wedding dress that was breathtakingly beautiful. Her eyes, once as sharp as an eagle's, were now filled with a gentle smile. In the pews, my family was all there. My parents' eyes glistened with happy tears. Julian, in his groomsman's suit, wore his usual proud smirk, but the blessing in his eyes was sincere. My 3 sisters were there too, looking at me as if watching a treasure they had guarded for years finally find its perfect home. "Mr. Ethan Astor, do you take Miss Chloe Sterling to be your wife, for better or for worse?" "I do." I cut off the priest without hesitation, drawing a wave of warm laughter from the guests. Chloe also smiled and said, "I do." We exchanged rings, and amidst the blessings of everyone present, I lifted her veil and leaned down to kiss her. This kiss was the union of underground order and public justice, a fusion of darkness and light. After the wedding, our family stood on the cliff's edge, feeling the sea breeze and watching the sunset. In the past year, the Astor family had undergone a monumental transformation. I integrated Spectre with the family's shadow line, creating a new organization dedicated to upholding justice on a global scale. It remained a king in the underworld, but now it operated in the light. Julian, meanwhile, had taken full control of the Astor Corporation's business empire. Under his leadership, the group expanded at an unprecedented rate, becoming a true commercial titan. The two of us, one in the light and one in the shadows, brought the Astor family's influence to its absolute peak. He also found his own happiness with a formidable businesswoman who was his equal in every way. They were both lovers and the best of business partners. My parents retired with complete peace of mind and began their round-the-world trip, enjoying the private time they had long deserved. My eldest sister, Serafina, ultimately did not go through with the arranged marriage. She conquered her intended partner on her own terms at the negotiating table, and they went from business rivals to soulmates who admired each other, creating a new business legend together. My second sister, Isabel, finally found the courage to confess to the genius doctor she had admired for years. Today, they co-manage a world-class private research institute dedicated to solving medical challenges. My third sister, Vivian, with her talent and the family's backing, became an internationally acclaimed actress and started her own entertainment company. She eventually found love with a great director who admired and understood her, achieving success in both her career and her personal life. And Mr. White remained my most capable deputy, faithfully managing the daily affairs of the new shadow line, becoming the most reliable guardian of the new order. Chloe leaned on my shoulder and asked softly, "What are you thinking about?" I looked out at the distant horizon, the golden glow of the setting sun washing over us, warm and serene. "I'm thinking, it's good to be home," I replied softly, squeezing her hand. Yes, it was good to be home. I was no longer the solitary specter. I was Ethan Astor, a son to my parents, a brother to my sisters and to Julian, and a husband to Chloe. I had the whole world.